My part to discuss all about whiskey cocktails recipes. All about the whiskey. It is perhaps whiskey that is the trickiest base ingredient to use in cocktail. Its flavor doesn't take quite obligingly as the other spirit due to being mixed with the liquors and fruit juice, although it is by no means bereft of its classic recipes. The rich, sweetly wooden flavor of American whiskeys such as bourbon and rye and the fruitiness of Canadian whiskey bear better in this respect than Scotch. It is the lordly pungency of much single-malt Scotch that gets in the way. Perhaps these products really are best enjoyed in their own, or else with nothing more elaborate than the rest spring what the whiskey sour. Mix the juice of a lemon with 5 ml per 1 teaspoon caster superfine sugar in a small tumbler with 2 or 3 cubes of ice. When the sugar is dissolved, add generous measure of whiskey and stir again. American whiskey are best preparation. Some people add a brief squirt of soda. If you find this formula a little too sour, add a little more sugar. But this is a way I like it. Let's talk about another cocktail recipe, which is so-called Perfect Manhattan. When making Manhattans, it is a matter of preferences whether you use sweet vermouth, dry vermouth, or a mixture of the two. Both of former require a dash of Angostura bitter. The last given here is such a harmonious balanced mixture that it doesn't need it. The mixture of Perfect Manhattan is equals to 2 measures per 3 tablespoon rye whiskey, 1 part measure per 1 teaspoon rye vermouth, 1 measure per 1 teaspoon sweet red vermouth. The procedure here is to pour the whiskey and vermouth into a bar glass half full of ice. And stir well for 30 seconds to mix and chill. Strain on the rocks of straight up into a chilled cocktail glass. Pare away a small strip of lemon rinds. Tie it into a knot to help release the oils from the rim. And drop it into the cocktail. Add a maraschino cherry with its stalk left intact. As any Manhattan drinker will tell you, the cherry is essential. The other cocktail recipe is a Rob Roy. A further modification of the Perfect Manhattan recipe, Rob Roy is made with Scotch and inclines very much to the sweeter end of the spectrum. It has traditionally been drunk on St. Andrew's Day on November 30 every year, but may with conference be drink all year around now. 1 measure per 1/2 tablespoon Scotch, 1 measure per 1 1/2 tablespoon sweet red vermouth. Shake the ingredient well with ice and strain into a cocktail glass. Some recipes add a dash of Angostura bitter to mix as well, but I leave that to your discretion. And the bubble runs. Similarly to Rob Roy, but with a herbal tang of Benedictine coming through it. This is a drink named after Scotland's national poet. It is best served on Burns Night every January 25. The mixture is equals to 1 1/2 measures per 6 teaspoons Scotch, 3/4 measure per 3 teaspoons sweet red vermouth, 1 part measure per 1 teaspoon Benedictine. The procedure is to stir all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a chilled cocktail glass. Squeeze a spray of oil from piece of lemon rind over the surface. But in this case, don't add the rind onto the drink. In the 1920s, the cocktail was shaken, but it seems to work better stirred, which gives a less cloudy result. The mint julep, one of the oldest cocktails of them all. This originated in southern states of the USA, probably in the 18th century. It's the drink from tradition at the Kentucky Derby, the first Saturday in May, and is incomparably refreshing mixture that has deservedly become a classic. The mixture is equivalent to 15 ml per 1 tablespoon castor superfine sugar, 8 to 10 fresh mint leaves, 2/3 measure per 1 tablespoon hot water, 2 measures or 3 tablespoon bourbon, 1 measure per 1 1/2 tablespoon scotch, 1 measure per 1 1/2 sweet red vermouth. Shake the ingredients well with ice and strain into cocktail glass. Some recipes add a dash of Angostura bitters to the mix as well, but I leave that to your discretion. Place the sugar in a mortar or a bar glass. Tear the mint leaves into small pieces and add them to the sugar. Bruise them with a pestle or use a muddler to release their flavor and color. Add the water and grind well together. Spoon into highball glass and half fill with crushed ice. Add the bourbon. Stir until the outside of the glass has frosted. Allow to stand for a couple of minutes until the ice melts slightly and dilutes the drink. The whiskey mat is the classic cold remedy is half and half good scotch and ginger wine, preferably Granny's. These days, it is generally served over ice in a rock glass, but traditionally, it was taken straight up. Whether it actually gets rid of a cold must be open to doubt, but it certainly makes you feel better. And the Canada cocktail. An engagingly sweet and fruity cocktail that obviously has to be made with whiskey from Canada. Canadian Clove is fine brand and is generally available. The mixture is 1.5 measure per 6 teaspoon Canadian whiskey, 1 part measure per 1 teaspoon Cointreau, 2 dashes Angostura bitters, and 5 ml per 1 teaspoon castor or superfine sugar. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a cocktail glass, garnish with a twist of orange rim. Let's tackle the Old Fashioned. The Old Fashioned is only a modified bourbon and rye whiskey, but quickly established itself as one of the all-time classic preparations. It is usually heavily garnished and served in a particular kind of squall tumbler that is named after the drink. 1 part measure per 1 teaspoon sugar syrup, 2 dashes Angostura bitters, 2 measures per 3 tablespoon bourbon or rye whiskey. The procedure is to mix the sugar and Angostura in an old-fashioned glass until the sugar is dissolved. Add plenty of cracked ice and then the whiskey. Throw in a twist of lemon rind, a slice of orange cut laterally from the fruit, and a cocktail cherry, and serve with the stirring implement in it. This is the most old-fashioned formula for an old-fashioned. The so-called New York, not a New York City, but a New York cocktail. This is another simple preparation for whiskey that was made in the 1920s with Canadian whiskey. Despite its name Scotch, can also successfully be used. However, as can seemingly anything but American whiskey. The mixture is 2 measures per 3 tablespoon Canadian whiskey or Scotch, 5 ml per 1 teaspoon castor, superfine sugar juice of half a lime dash grenadine. Stir all ingredients vigorously with ice in a pitcher, and then strain into a chilled cocktail glass. Squeeze a twist of lemon over the drink, but don't it in. The Rasnail, a short sharp drink. This is another classic half and half recipe, and one that is still manages to do perfect juice to both ingredients. The ingredients are 1.5 measures per 6 teaspoon scotch, 1.5 measures per 6 teaspoon drum. Pour both ingredients over crushed ice in a rock glass or whiskey tumbler, and stir gently. No garnish is necessary. Some prefer to leave the ice cubes cool so as not to dilute the drink too much. It should be drunk quickly. The Sea Dog. This is a long Scotch whiskey drink with a citrus twist. For a sweeter drink, add a second sugar cube. The ingredients are 1 to 2 sugar cubes, 2 dashes Angostura bitters, 2 orange wedges, 2/3 measure per 1 tablespoon Scotch, 1 measure per 1 1/2 tablespoon Benedictine, 2 measures per 3 tablespoons soda water. Put the sugar cube at the bottom of a highball glass, add the bitters and allow to soak into the sugar cube. Add the orange and lemon wedges and using a muddler, press the juices from the fruit. Fill the glass with cracked ice. Add the whiskey and Benedictine and mix together well with a swizzle stick. Add the chilled soda water. Serve with the muddler so that more juice can be pressed from the fruit by the drinker. Garnish with a maraschino gallpressor. Short and smart, this drink is served on the rocks in a tumbler or in a long stem glass with a maraschino cherry. It all depends on the drinker and the occasion. The ingredients are 2 dashes Angostura bitters, 2 dashes grenadine, 2 measures per 3 tablespoon bourbon or rye whiskey. Half fill a bar glass with ice cubes. Add the Angostura bitters, grenadine, and whiskey, and stir well to chill. Place some ice in a small tumbler and pour the cocktail over it. Squeeze lemon and over the top, garnish with the Millionaire Cocktail. Several cocktails have been recorded over the years under this name. The Savoy Cocktail book lists 2 alternatives, one based on rum and the other on gin. This one is from roughly the same era too. The ingredients are 1.5 measures per 6 teaspoon bourbon, 3/4 measure per 3 teaspoon Cointreau, dash grenadine, and 1/2 egg white. Shake all the ingredients with ice and strain into cocktail glass. Garnish with a half slice of lemon. Half fill a bar glass with an ice cube. Add an Angostura bitter, grenadine and whiskey and stir well to chill. Place some ice into a small tumbler and pour the cocktail over it. Squeeze lemon rind over the top and then discard. Garnish with a cherry if desired. For a longer drink, finish with soda or sparkling mineral water. And then the bucaro. Not many cocktails work well with cola, but this is an honorable exception. The pronounced bittering note contributed by the Angostura is essential and should not be omitted. The ingredients are 1½ measures per 6 teaspoon bourbon, 2.5 ml per 1/2 Angostura bitters, 5 measures per 120 ml or 48 ounce Coca-Cola. Add the first 2 ingredients into a highball glass containing plenty of cracked ice, stir briskly, and then top up with cola. Serve with a swizzled stick with a further stirring the Loch lemon. This is another very simple treatment for scotch for those who are not quite up to taking it neat. The ingredients are 1½ measure per 1 teaspoon scotch, 1/4 measure per 1 teaspoon sugar syrup, and 2 dashes Angostura bitters. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain with a cocktail glass. Squeeze a piece of lemon over the surface and discard. The duck soup, a fruity preparation in which bourbon is given the treatment more normally accorded to rum. It works well, though, showing what a versatile drink American whiskey is. The ingredients are 2 measure per 3 teaspoon bourbon, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon apricot brand, 3/4 measure per 3 teaspoon lemon juice, 3/4 measure per 3 teaspoon pineapple juice, 5 ml per 1 teaspoon castor or super pine sugar. The modern cocktail. The meaning of modern here is not as in 21st century, but as in 1920s. There were 2 cocktails with this name even then. One had whiskey and sloe gin in it. But this seems to have been original. It has a strong and unusual flavor that is an acquired taste, but one that you may well find yourself acquiring. The ingredients are 2 measures per 3 tablespoons scotch, 1/2 measure per 1½ teaspoon dark rum, 1/4 measure per 1 teaspoon absinthe, 1/4 measure per 1 teaspoon orange bitters or curacao, 1/2 measure per 1 teaspoon lemon juice. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a cocktail glass. Garnish with a twist of lemon. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a rock glass that is half filled with cracked ice. Garnish with a slice of lemon to brainstorm. Here is a recipe that specifically calls for Irish whiskey. Its smooth triple distilled flavor works exceptionally well with other ingredients. Jameson's would be a particularly good brand to use. The ingredients are 2 measure per 3 tablespoon Irish whiskey, 2 dashes dry vermouth, and 2 dashes Benedictine. Half fill an old-fashioned glass with cracked ice, and then add the ingredients in this order. Stir gently, add a twist of orange rim, and serve with a swizzle stick for stirring. Churchill, the British wartime leader, is well served by having this sophisticated and powerful cocktail named after him, even though Scotch wasn't his favorite triple. The ingredients are 1½ measures for 6 teaspoons Scotch, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoons sweet red vermouth, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon control, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon lime juice. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a chilled cocktail glass. Garnish with half slice of orange and a slice of lime. Jack Frost. The Jack in the name referred to even popular Tennessee whiskey brand Jack Daniels, and so that it's the type that must be used. This is an exotic and highly appealing cocktail. The ingredients is 1 measure or 1½ tablespoon Jack Daniels, 3/4 measure per 3 teaspoon dry vermouth, 1/2 measure per 1½ teaspoon creme de banana, 1 measure per 1½ tablespoon passion fruit juice, 1/3 measure per 1½ teaspoon pineapple juice. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a large cocktail glass that has been half filled with crushed ice. The drink could be garnished with a slice of lemon on a stick with a chunk of juicy, ripe pineapple. Kentucky Kernel. The geographical reference of this drink indicates that it's bourbon cocktail, and the second half of the name refers to the apricot kernels form, which its other alcoholic ingredient is made. 1½ measure per 6 teaspoon bourbon, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon apricot brandy, 1 measure per 1½ tablespoon grapefruit juice, 1/4 measure per 1 teaspoon grenadine. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and pour the drink ice and all into a rock glasses. Blank Walker, another recipe that puns on the famous name, this one being the celebrated Scotch brand Johnny Walker. It's a hardcore alcohol mixture. The ingredients are 1½ measure per 6 teaspoon Johnny Walker Red Label Scotch, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon sweet red vermouth, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon yellow chartreuse. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a rock glass half filled with roughly cracked ice. Add a wedge of lemon. The Pleasant Dreams Cocktail Whiskey. This brittle treatment from bourbon would make a very comforting nightcap, so long as you confine yourself to just the one, that is. The mixture is 1½ measure per 6 teaspoon bourbon, 3/4 measure per 3 teaspoon creme de moire, 1/4 measure per 1 teaspoon peach schnapps. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and pour without straining into a chilled rack glass. Alcuin. This is named after the elegant New York hotel where Dorothy Parker once ruled the roost. The types of whiskey to be used are once again quite specific. 2 measures per 3 teaspoon rye and or Canadian whiskey. 1 measure per 1½ tablespoon rye vermouth. 1 measure per 1½ tablespoon pineapple juice. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a rocks glass half filled with cracked ice. Garnish with lemon. This was the artist's special. This drink is so named because it was invented at the Artist's Club in the Rue Pigalle, Paris in the 1920s. The red ingredient was originally red corn syrup, but grenadine can be used to perfectly good effect instead. The mixture of scotch and sweet sherry, as its heart, is a very filling one. The mixture is 1 measure per 1 tablespoon scotch, 1 measure per 1½ tablespoon sweet brown sherry, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon lemon juice, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon grenadine. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a cocktail glass and a half size of lemon. The pamplemousse, the name in the French word of grapefruit, and so it's not hard to work out what the principal flavor of this charming cocktail should be. The ingredients are 1½ mixture per 6 teaspoon Canadian whiskey, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon Southern Comfort, 2 measures per 3 tablespoon grapefruit juice, 1/4 measure per 1 teaspoon pineapple syrup. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a rock glass half filled with cracked ice. Add a short twist of grapefruit wind and a cocktail cherry. Rook Mountain. Here is another of those cocktails that is called for 3 specific brand and wouldn't be quite the same with substitute. Its light, delicately herbal tinge is very attractive. The mixture is 1½ measures, 6 teaspoon Canadian club, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon Galaiba, 1/4 measure per 1 teaspoon Pont Imis. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and pour without straining into chilled rack glass. Balisort. The trick with this drink is to shake it for longer than normal with masses of ice until the mixture is extremely frosty looking. That incidentally goes some ways to disguise the higher proportion of bourbon in it. The ingredients is 3 measure per 4½ tablespoon bourbon, 1 measure per 1½ tablespoon cranberry juice, 2/3 measure per 1 tablespoon lemon juice, and 30 ml per 2 tablespoon sugar syrup. Shake all the ingredients extremely well with plenty of large ice cubes and pour the mixtures and strain into a chilled highball glass. Garnish with a slice of lemon and perhaps a couple of cranberries. The Grenoble. This is a superbly fruity cocktail with a kick, and one that demonstrates what a good mixer Kentucky whiskey is. The mixtures is 1½ measures per 6 tablespoon bourbon, 1½ measure per 2 tablespoon creme de framboise, 1½ measure per 2 tablespoon conchu, 1 measure per 1½ tablespoon orange juice, 1 measure per 1 tablespoon orgeat syrup. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a cocktail glass. Garnish with a half slice of orange and a raspberry on a cocktail stick. Tivoli. This is an Italian connection in this powerful little cocktail to reflect its name, but it comes by way of Scandinavia and Kentucky. 1½ measure per 6 teaspoon bourbon, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon red vermouth, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon aquavit and dash Campari. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a chilled cocktail glass. Garnish the drink with a half-sized lemon. Paddy, another traditional one. This way originally made with the Irish whiskey brand of the same name. In the 1920s, it had equal quantities of whiskey and vermouth and slightly less angostura, which would obviously make for a sweeter result. This is today drier and more sophisticated formula. A 1.5 measures per 6 teaspoon Irish whiskey, 3/4 measure of per 3 teaspoon sweet red vermouth, 3 dashes Angostura bitters. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and strain into a chill cocktail glass. Garnish the drink with a half size of lemon. Tippery. You'll certainly know you have one of these. It is an old 1920s mixture that's all alcohol and packs the considerable punch of chartreuse. If you're feeling brave, this was originally a whole measure too. A 1 measure per 1.5 tablespoon Irish whiskey, 1 measure per 1.5 sweet red vermouth, 1/2 measure per 2 teaspoon green chartreuse. Add ingredients to a pitcher with plenty of cracked ice and stir until cold enough to frost the sides of glass. Strain into a pre-chilled cocktail glass. The Highland Morning. Although the name seems to be encouraging you to drink one of these for breakfast, a little later in the day might be wiser. 1 measure per 1.5 tablespoon scotch, 3/4 measure per 3 spoon contour, 3 measures per 1.5 grapefruit juice. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and pour unstrained if you are really having it in the morning into a chilled rock glass. The drink could be garnished with a twist of grapefruit rind and perhaps a half slice of orange to reflect the presence of cointreau in the mix. The Lochness, a pair of Scottish and a pair of Irish cocktails rounds up with this tongue cookie which dates from 1920s. 1.5 measure per 6 teaspoon scotch, 1 measure per 1.5 tablespoon per nut, 1/4 measure per 1 teaspoon red vermouth. Shake all the ingredients well with ice and pour it without straining into a chilled rock glass or old-fashioned glass. Do not garnish.